Oh, yeah. The drum beats are drumming. College football's in the air. It's close. We are back. Tonight, we keep on moving our walk across college football here on the Hateful Hitman podcast. Tonight, we're moving to the SEC. Looking forward to it. There's a lot of talent in the SEC. I'm not an SEC fan, but it's hard to ignore the talent. Welcome into the show. My name is Chris Strasbaugh. You can find me on Twitter at Hateful Hitman. It has been a minute. I took a week off, and then I took another week off because it was Father's Day. I was going to record on Father's Day, but I got to tell you, I was perfectly fine just sitting in that chair, not doing much of anything, and I enjoyed it. So we're back now, part 2 of a 5-part series across the Hitman's Walk Across to College Football. And tonight we go right into the SEC. And like I said at the beginning, it is a talent-loaded conference, always has been, and for the most part probably always will be. And there's no change this year, and even with these schools that didn't really fare so well last year, still have SEC caliber talent and SEC caliber players, and what many people think, not me per se, but it is the best overall conference in college football. It's hard to argue with what they produce into the NFL, but I have my preferences as far as conferences go and things like that. They are definitely a juggernaut, but I don't want to give them any more credit than I actually have to. Like I said before, during the Big Ten show, I'm not concentrating so much on records from last year. I'm throwing those out. I don't really want to focus on that because last year was a dud. It was a fluke. It was a 1 in 100 year chance that something like that happens, and hopefully we don't have to see a pandemic again in the rest of my lifetime or my kids or my grandkids' lifetime. But it happened. But I'm not dwelling on the past. That's why I'm not going to throw a bunch of numbers at you. We have put 2020 in the rear view, and we're hitting the gas, and we're moving into 2021. So I spent a few days putting this show together. I did it in 2 parts. I did the East and the West on different days. So I'm going to do the East first because that's kind of where the lower teams in that conference reside. Talking about Vandy and Tennessee and maybe even Missouri, depending on how you look at it. I mean, South Carolina was 2-8 last year, kind of a down year. But we'll start with Vandy. And what they had to work with last year was what you call definite youth movement. They were 0-9, and they had a freshman quarterback that they just handed the reins to and said, here you go, learn the job. And his name is Ken Seals, and if you look at film on him, and you can find film that sees him progress throughout the course of the season, watch the dates or whatever where you're looking at film, you can see his moments of brilliance and the good flashes of what he does have potentially, for Vanderbilt this coming season. And you can actually see him progress as the year went on last year and get better and better. And so they're really excited about his second year and actually his first full year, playing in a post-COVID apocalypse. So if there's a couple of things that you can hang your hat on if you're a Vandy fan, at some point, Vandy is going to get a little bit better. And, you start with the quarterback position. Okay, they got a guy who's had a year of experience now, and he's got, some really good things that he does as a quarterback, and he'll just get better this year. He's Cam Johnson and Amir Abdur-Rahim at the wide receiver position, so he has some weapons out there to throw to. Abdul Rahim's 6'4", so that's a big target. And a big target for a quarterback who's up and coming is never a bad thing. It's hard to really look at something and say, man, I think this Vandy team is going to turn it around and be sensational this year. That's hard for me to say because I don't think it's going to happen. I think they'll definitely be better than the 0-9 team that they put on the field last year. But to say they're going to, compete for a conference championship is just not in the cards as far as I'm concerned. Now, if you're a Vandy fan, my heart goes out to you, and I hope your team has a really good year, and it's worth getting up on Saturday mornings to watch them play for. They are a team on the up and coming, on the rise. They do have a new coach in place, and so maybe it's going to take a couple years, but Vandy could definitely get better and get turned around in the years to come. South Carolina 2-8 last year, and a recurring theme that we dealt with during the Big Ten is kind of starting to show its head here again in the SEC, and that's a reoccurring quarterback carousel for some of these teams, and the next three are no different. South Carolina, it looks like it's going to be Luke Doty at the quarterback position, and if that's the case, that's good for him. But what have I always said that a good quarterback needs? Well, he needs good offensive line and a good running game to lean on. Well, he's got one of the premier running backs, not only in just the conference, but in the country. And some would say he's, a top 5 running back. I don't have those same thoughts and feelings, but Kevin Harris is a phenomenal talent at the running back position. There are running backs out there throughout the country that I like over Kevin Harris. Just watching his film, he just doesn't look like – it just doesn't blow me away. So we had our Devy draft a while back, and someone took Kevin Harris. I wasn't too upset, that someone else got him and I didn't. However, that doesn't mean that he won't be good for that team. He won't have a fantastic season, and he will definitely help, if it is Doty at the quarterback position. Now, at the tight end, I don't talk enough about tight ends, and I know that. And it's like, to me, it's the forgotten position. But South Carolina does have a tight end named Nick Muse, who should definitely make some noise this year. And if you play college fantasy, and you get down to the point where you're looking for a tight end or a streamable option at tight end, Nick Muse is somebody that you could definitely lean on in a pinch. And he may actually be a weekend starter depending on how Doty and that offense function. Now, they did lose Shi Smith to the NFL, so they have some holes at the wide receiver position, and that's not going to really help. But if you can hand off to Kevin Harris and he's not running against stacked boxes, that's going to help Doty if he is indeed the quarterback for South Carolina. Number 3 on my list, Tennessee, 3-7 last year, and again we pop up on a quarterback controversy. And if you go to Our Lads, which is where I get a lot of my information from, there's 3 or 4 quarterbacks they got listed. And I wrote down 2 that I think would have a legitimate shot at possibly, contending for the quarterback position at Tennessee. You got Joe Milton, who is a transfer from Michigan, and you got Hendon Hooker, who is a transfer from Virginia Tech. Both of these quarterbacks were starters in college football last year. And there are things I love about both of these guys. I mean, I had Hendon Hooker in our College to Canton league, but we didn't have college fantasy last year, so I didn't get to see what he did. But he transferred out into Tennessee, and I think he has just as good a chance as Joe Milton at winning the starting position. Now, there are a couple guys there listed in Our Lads that they may have a full-blown. Let's see, you got 4 or 5 guys. Let's see who our quarterback's going to be. But I can tell you one thing. And I can't tell you this for 100% certainty, but I can tell you this with pretty good accuracy, that whoever they have playing quarterback will in fact be head and shoulders better than Jarrett Garantano, who they had to deal with, over the past couple of seasons. Garantano transferring out and going to a school whose name eludes me at the moment, but I think no matter what, you're getting an upgrade at the quarterback position no matter who they decide to go with. Now, they did lose 2 running backs. They lost Ty Chandler and they lost Eric Gray. They transferred out and went to other places. But they have a kid. He's a sophomore, 6 foot, 200 pounds, Jabari Small. I think if I remember right, I didn't write his numbers down because this is not supposed to be a numbers episode, but it was something like 25 carries for 100 yards last year. Didn't get a whole lot of work. But see, with these 2 running backs hitting the transfer portal and leaving, Jabari Small is going to get a chance to step in there, take over the job, and try to beat out a transfer that came in. And you'd like to see that. To me, you'd like to see it be Jabari Small winning the job, and this transfer guy just gets to watch and maybe get some mop-up duty. Why, you ask? Well, because of this. He came into Tennessee. Okay, he was recruited into Tennessee, and Tennessee has not been good for several years. He stuck it out. He didn't leave. Chandler and Gray left. He's thinking, I get my shot. Okay, youngster, get in there, do your thing, win the job, so that we can talk about you throughout the course of the college football season. I'd like to see him win the job, and it would be cool to see what he could do if he was handed the starting position. Now, Tennessee lost Josh Palmer to the NFL. So there's a guy here I'm not going to target this guy in college fantasy or even Devy at the moment, but there's a guy who's interesting, and he pops up in a lot of the notes that you read about this team, and his name's Velus Jones. He's a grad transfer from USC. So what that means, a grad transfer, is when you have graduated from your college and you've transferred elsewhere and you have 1 year of eligibility left. So this guy comes in with not a whole lot of playing time, but a little bit of playing time. So he has some experience, and that's only going to help Jabari Small if he's the running back, and whoever they decide on at quarterback is a guy who's had a little bit of experience playing in a Power 5 conference. So what do we expect from Tennessee? Well, I expect better than 3-7. Every Tennessee fan expects better than 3-7. They are not back. This is not their year. Don't get it all messed up. This isn't their time. But they should be better than 3-7. Every year you hear, we're back. This is our year. This is our year. It's like a Tennessee thing. It's like Rocky Top's a song, and their phrase is, we're back. This is our year. No, it's not. Because you still have a lot to do. Okay, because even if you settle on a quarterback, you're not going to have him but for 1 or 2 years, and they're going to be gone. You're going to be back around again. They've got to do a better job at recruiting. They've got to do a better job of getting back to what Tennessee football used to be. And at that point, if they can do that, then you can sit there and say, okay, yeah, maybe they're back. Maybe they are a force. But until they get some consistency in that program, it's not going to happen anytime soon. Which we move to my next team, and you would have thought, if you'd have looked at this, when you look at the SEC, okay, you look at the SEC and you think powerhouse blue blood programs. You're thinking Bama, Florida, Tennessee, Auburn. You know, those are the blue bloods that stick out to you in the conference. You don't think of Kentucky. You think of Kentucky in college basketball, but you don't think about Kentucky in college football. But here the last few years, they've been ramping up, and they have put together some good teams. Now, again, we've got some quarterback issues. There's a transfer from Penn State who went to Kentucky. Gatewood, Bo Allen. These guys may all throw a monkey wrench in who's going to be the quarterback. Hopefully it gets worked out in fall camp. Hopefully it's handled and they go with the guy and give him a little bit of a leash. You know, I always want to see a guy get a chance. I said this last time. Don't throw a pick and pull him. That's not going to help his confidence. It's not going to do anything for your offense. Give the guy a chance. Let him do his job. Now, they have a pretty good 1-2 punch at running back. Have a kid by the name of Chris Rodriguez,